Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today Around Kansas starts with a look at the history and the unique landscape around the Red Hills in southern Kansas. Next is the story of Clarina Nichols, a remarkable woman who came from Vermont to settle in Kansas and brought with her reform-minded ideal. Then enjoy Ron Wilson's poem titled The Horse, and we'll end with a look at Old Wives' Tales. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, just a short drive down the Yellow Brick Road. Good morning, I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And this is Around Kansas. Thanks for tuning in this morning, either on TV or maybe you're watching it later on the internet, but thanks for tuning in.
We got lots of folks from back home in the hills that watch online, so yeah, we appreciate that, and a shout out to everybody. Well, Frank, we've been making the fair circuit. You know, all the fairs are going on leading up to the state fair in September, Hutch, and we did a couple of parades. So we did the Sharon Springs Parade, and Dr. Jake had the stagecoach. I painted the stagecoach. In fact, if you look very closely, you can see streaks of red and yellow in my hair from painting the stagecoach. And we had the hearse, and we had the Army ambulance, and then we had a bunch of riders, and did the Gove Parade. You know, we hit all the big spots, Frank, I'm telling you, so all the big towns, but gosh, is it fun. And the fairs are just going full swing everywhere, and that's just so much fun. Wakini had the muddy pig wrestling competition for several years in a row. Hilarious. It is one.
This is Muddy Pig?
Muddy Pig. So okay. They have maybe 6 or 8 inches of water on top of the dirt, and they have different categories, different age kids and different size pigs. It's hilarious. It is so funny. Oh, they have t-shirts. You can get your, pig wrestling t-shirt, and so I want to get you one, Frank. That's what I'm.
Yeah. I lead such a sedate life.
Compared to pig wrestling, yeah, don't we all? So yeah, Frank, what have you been up to?
Riding around a lot on the two-wheeler.
Oh, fun.
It's been a good year for it. There have been some very hot days, but hey, you're a rider, you ride anyway.
Well, and you get the breeze then on the road.
Oh, yeah.
So
but it's still hot. It's like having
hot.
a wind in your oven.
Yeah, like riding around the convection oven.
Yeah.
Exactly. But there have been a lot of bikes on the road. I've seen a lot of people, because it's been pretty. Because of the rain and the, unfortunately the humidity, things have stayed green, and so the state has been really pretty. And the wildflowers have been blooming. Wildflowers are just gorgeous. I was out in the pasture the other day, and so many things were in bloom. And of course, Michael, bless his heart, it's hay fever starting. Everything. There is not a silver lining without its cloud, is there?
So anyway, yeah. So you used the word hill in there, so that's kind of a
lead-in.
Kind of a lead-in of what is coming up later in the show.
We got hills coming.
We got hills coming. The hills of Kansas.
I'm going to have to get, my friend Greg Fox has a song, Counting Hills. We'll have to we'll give a plug for Greg's song, Counting Hills. That's what we're going to do for a few weeks on Around Kansas. We're going to count hills.
Okay.
Stay with us.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Lecompton. The name was splashed across newspapers throughout America and Europe. It was debated in the halls of Congress. Lecompton interprets its unique territorial history with 2 museums and other sites. Events throughout the year celebrate history and community.
Experience the life of the mountain man, American Indian, trappers, and traders at the annual Bald Eagle Rendezvous, September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th.
Spend the day in historic Lecompton, shopping, eating, savoring the rich history.
Support Kansas agriculture education with an AgriTag. AgriTags are available anytime at your county treasurer. They look great on cars and trucks. For more information, go online to ksagclassroom.org.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. And we're back, in case you couldn't tell. But anyway, so we were talking about the hills of Kansas. And, well, of course, the most famous hills, I think, are the Flint Hills.
Well, they got the sign,
Yeah.
they got the big sign that say Flint Hills, and it's gorgeous. I mean, you can't argue, it's gorgeous. But I said something to a lady the other day about living in Oakley, and of course this lady lives in Topeka, and she said, oh, I love the Flint Hills. Well, Oakley is not the Flint Hills.
No, it's the High Plains.
In fact, there's a lot of Kansas that's not the Flint Hills that still have hills.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've got the Smoky Hills, which is actually what Oakley would be included in, the Smoky Hills. You got the Chautauqua Hills, and you got the Red Hills. And the Red Hills may be, I don't know, it's all unique. When you start looking at it, we've got so many unique landscapes. We've talked about this before. You just get off the road, as you know, on your bike, you get off the road just a little ways and wow.
Yeah.
Just wow. So have you ever biked down in the Red Hills, the Gyp Hills?
No.
Okay, that's one you got to put on your
Okay.
list.
All right.
And check.
I went around it, but I haven't gone through it.
Well, you got to go through it, and we'll talk about that in the segment. But just one more plug: go to Travel Kansas. The new byways, so lots of folks, not just the Flint Hills, have signs. But with the byways, you've got the scenic byways designated so that you can experience the different geographic areas of Kansas. So take advantage of that and check out online the byways and look for the Gyp Hills byways. And we'll take you there right now.
The natives called them the Medicine Hills, and the river that ran through them, the Medicine River. The natives believed they possessed healing powers. According to the Kansas Geological Survey, the natives were right. The waters contain magnesium sulfates and other natural salts dissolved from the large deposits of dolomite and gypsum. Most of us are familiar with Epsom salts, or magnesium sulfate. The solution draws infection from wounds. The landscape they form in Comanche, Barber, and Clark counties is an anomaly to the southern Kansas landscape. We call them the Gyp Hills, or the Red Hills. The rocks were deposited during the Permian period of geologic history about 250 million years ago. During that time, a large, shallow bay covered much of this area. When that bay was cut off from the ocean and the water evaporated, the rocks left behind included salt and gypsum. Most evaporates are easily dissolved in water, and thus erosion sculpted these hills into the shapes you see today. Many of the soil and rocks are stained red by iron oxide, thus giving the name Red Hills to the area. Sandstone and shale in particular are bright red. Gypsum, a white rock, is found in layers within those red beds. One type of gypsum, selenite, forms large diamond-shaped crystals that are common in the area and litter road cuts and ditches like broken glass, says the Kansas Sampler Foundation. The Gypsum Hills Scenic Byway and Gyp Hills Scenic Drive highlight this unique scenery and is among the 8 wonders of Kansas geography. The byway is about 42 miles long, stretching from the western city limits of Medicine Lodge to the junction of US 160 and 183 at Coldwater. It bisects the Gyp Hills, revealing the flat mesas, deep canyons, sharp high hills, and caprock formations. According to Travel Kansas, there is an abundance of wildflowers, and with the red soil as a background, even common cedar trees take on a different, more dramatic appearance. Visit their website for more information.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
When your living depends on agriculture, you can depend on KFRM 550 AM. If you're in the southwest three-fourths of Kansas or the northern half of Oklahoma, catch us at 550 AM on the radio dial. But if that isn't you, listen on your cell phone at TuneIn Radio or on your computer at KFRM.com. We promise to keep you informed, entertained, and company as you go through your day. KFRM 550 AM, the voice of the plains. We would like to join your management team.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back, folks. Well, no matter how you look at this year's presidential race, we're making history. Of course, Kansas has been making history with women and women's rights from the very get-go.
Yeah, very much so, before we were even a state. And I get to do a story about a young lady that kind of turned the state upside down a little bit, actually eventually got voting rights for women in the state of Kansas. Now, it was still limited, which is what is interesting, but then, of course, eventually then women were given the full right to vote.
And of course, Kansas has produced some incredible women. We've done a couple of segments on them. Georgia Niece Gray, a very important politician. She was Secretary of the Treasury. Mm-hmm. And of course, Nancy Landon Castlebaum Baker, whose contribution we just can't overestimate. When she was inducted into the Kansas Hall of Fame along with Ed Asner, and Nancy, as many of you know, is a tiny woman. She's very short, and Ed Asner got up on the stand on the podium and he said, "You know, Nancy looks small, but she's not small." And of course, what he meant was her presence and her personality. Yeah, really incredible.
Well, and of course, I mean, we really have had a lot of famous women, because you got, of course, Carrie Nation, but she pretty much started Prohibition a long time ago. But anyway.
And then more recently, of course, Kathleen Sebelius, who's again a cabinet member. So we've made some incredible contributions. You go, girls.
Yeah. So anyway, getting the right to vote in Kansas, it's a good story for an election year. Like many reform-minded settlers, Clarina Nichols was a New Englander. She was born in Vermont in 1810. Clarina was well educated and committed to educating others. She married and had children, but she broke the mold for her era. She divorced her first husband, unheard of at that age. She remarried newspaper editor George W. Nichols, a man 28 years older than she. Clarina eventually took over the newspaper's editorial duties. Clarina advocated for married women's rights for property and succeeded in changing the laws in New York and Vermont. According to Kansas Memory, when Kansas was opened for settlement in 1854, she migrated to the new territory. She joined the New England Immigrant Aid Society and soon moved her family to a claim in southern Douglas County. Her husband died soon after the move. Clarina worked for women's rights and the abolition of slavery. Clarina eventually became associate editor of the Quindaro Chindawan, an anti-slavery newspaper in Wyandotte County. Clarina traveled throughout the territory, lecturing about equality, gathering signatures on petitions, building support for her participation at the Wyandotte Constitutional Convention. She sat in on the daily proceedings. She lobbied the delegates to grant women equal educational opportunities and the right to vote in school district elections, equal standing on child custody matters, and equality in holding real and personal property. It was in large part a result of her lobbying efforts that the Wyandotte Constitution guaranteed these rights to Kansas women. The cause of women's rights advanced slowly thereafter, but it did advance, thanks to Clarina and many other selfless and dedicated women. Nichols left Kansas in 1871 to be with two of her children in California, where she died on January 11, 1885. But of course, the cause lived on. 2 years after Nichols' death, Kansas women could vote in municipal elections, and in 1912, they succeeded in their long effort to amend the state constitution and gain equality at the polls. Learn more about the life of this remarkable woman in Clarina Nichols, Frontier Crusader for Women's Rights by Diane Eichhoff from Quindaro Press. Fort Wallace stood on the frontier in the midst of the Plains Indians Wars on a major stage route and rail line. Beside the 1865 stagecoach station, a modern museum with thousands of artifacts tell that story, like the fossil of a 40-foot plesiosaur is suspended from the ceiling. Located on Highway 40 midway between Hayes and Colorado Springs, the Fort Wallace Museum is as welcome a sight today as the fort itself in the 1860s. Discover the fighting sport in the West.
Bill Rischel here in North Platte told me about Kansas regenerative medicine, and after talking to Dr. Pope, we did a lot of reading and researching, looking on the internet about it. I guess the thing that impressed me is that he told me, he said, if we don't think it's going to help you, we're not going to do it. I'm a former athlete, played college basketball, had some severe trauma on the right ankle. This brace is what I had to wear all the time. Now I don't wear this during the day. That's a real improvement for me. Encourage anybody that's interested to go down and do a consultation with them.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information. This segment brought to you by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Find out more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
You wouldn't have a Roy Rogers without a trigger. You wouldn't have a Lone Ranger without silver. And in the history of the cowboy, the horse was the essential partner. This poem is entitled, Here's to the Horse. The history of the West from earliest time is based on the wonderful species equine. The animal of which I speak, of course, is that wonderful critter we call the horse. Without the horse, how would life be changed for the Plains Indian or the cowboy on the range? The horse is more than a hard-working steed. He's a faithful companion, a quiet friend indeed. A trained horse with a good rider at a rodeo makes a team that puts on a great show. There's nothing better than setting a saddle on a trail ride or gathering cattle. So let's all give thanks for this discourse for the wonderful critter we call the horse. Happy trails.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Tallgrass Commodities offers producers bulk commodities at a reasonable price with reliable service throughout the whole Midwest. To find out more about Tallgrass Commodities, visit tallgrass.us or call 785-494-8484. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter. And we're back again. So, gosh, you know, September's coming here pretty quick. Whew, can't believe it.
The year's over half gone.
Yeah, well, yeah, that happened in July.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm so far behind.
Yeah, so
well, and so I posted on Facebook and I asked our viewers to share some of their old wives' tales. And yeah, the one about eat burnt toast, it makes your hair curly, that's the one I had never heard before. But the wisdom of old wives, you just never know what you're going to get. So especially talking about the weather, and one of my cousins from back home posted that her granny, who would have been my granny's sister-in-law, could smell the rain. I'm like, well, everybody back home can smell the rain. Can you smell the rain?
You can in Kansas, yes, you can.
And I think it's actually the ozone. Is that what you're smelling? I think the low pressure pushes it down or something. So yeah, you can actually smell that. But what is really funny, Randy Durbin sent us this one, and Randy is a banker. And he said, you know, look for a weather rock. And if the rock is dry, it means fair weather. If the rock is dusty, it means a dust storm. If the rock is swaying, then it's windy. If there's a shadow under the rock, it means it's sunny. White rock means it's snowing. If the rock is jumping up and down, an earthquake is upon us. If the bottom of the rock is underwater, it's a flood. So, Randy, we appreciate your insight and those helpful instructions on. And then there was another gal that said, you know, Grandma always said, look out the window and see what it's doing. So
yeah, well, and that used to be a joke on radio too. It's time for the weather. Go outside and see what it's like.
See what it's like. Well, let's take a look at some of the old wives' tales that we all grew up with. Let's see if there's any truth in them.
We all grew up with the old wives' sayings. Everything from how to tell the sex of a baby to whether or not company is coming. But predicting the weather, that's where most of those old wives' tales are told and retold, and where many of them bear out some truth. The most common, red sky at night, sailors' delight. Red sky at morning, sailors take warning. But is there truth in it? According to NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, there is. This old saying actually has a scientific explanation. It relates to moving high and low surface pressure weather systems and the way that the colors in sunlight are scattered differently by dirty and clean atmospheres. Low pressure is associated with bad weather, sailor take warning, and high pressure with good weather, sailor's delight. Low pressure causes air to converge to try to fill the low, and converging air causes upward motion, which in turn produces clouds and precipitation. In contrast, air diverges from the center of a high-pressure area. This causes downward motion, which suppresses cloud formation. Atmospheric conditions in a high-pressure area are typically cloud-free and dirty, and those in a low-pressure area are cloudy and relatively clean. The color of the light passing through these systems result in the different colors accurately predicting the weather. Smoke's going to the ground means rain or snow to come. Likewise, a low-pressure system forces smoke down, a good sign of precipitation to come. A ring around the moon means rain or snow. When you see the halo or ring around the moon, it is made of cirrostratus clouds, high, thin clouds of ice crystals. Moonlight is reflected on the crystals, so this one is mostly accurate too. These type of clouds generally form ahead of a warm front indicating precipitation. What about the old wives' tales related to cows? When they herd to a corner or are lying in a field, is that really a sign of rain or snow? The veterinarian says the cows tend to bunch because the flies are biting, and this helps keep them down. The flies are worse because it's going to rain. So yep, watch the cows. Mother Nature gives us signs. We just have to pay attention.
Well, we have to go, so I'm Frank.
I'm Deb.
And we'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Welcome to Kansas, gateway to
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. We're the best part of